my first team selection for Game Week 13. Today, we're going to have a look at how my team is currently lining up going into Game Week 13. Of course, it is the international break, but it does not mean I stop thinking about the transfers that I want to make. I have 2 free transfers and almost 2 million in the bank as well, and there are a lot of potential changes that I think I could make to my team. Welcome back everyone, FPL Harry here, another video, and today here is my Game Week 13 team as it lines up so far. So no transfers made, 2 transfers, 1.9 million in the bank, currently lining up for a 3-5-2. Areola in goal, Cash, Livramento and Gabriel in my defense. Now, a few things to cover straight away, straight off the bat. Livramento is one of the biggest mistakes as a transfer I think I've made in such a long time. Of course, it is hindsight because he didn't start last week. And if he started, then maybe I'd think a little bit differently. However, the money in the bank for my future transfers, I now don't have enough. I should have just gone and bought Lascelles into my team instead of Livramento, saved a little bit of money. But now Lascelles has risen up to 4.1 million. I can't actually afford the other transfers that I want to make further down the line. However, Lewis Hall is unavailable. He cannot play against Chelsea in Game Week 13. So I am just going to keep Livramento because he's almost nailed to start because there's no Burn, there's no Lewis Hall. So there aren't enough fullbacks. So Livramento pretty much has to start that game against Chelsea. Although given Chelsea's recent performances, you don't necessarily expect a clean sheet in there for them. I'm also starting Cash away at Spurs, and I'm also starting Gabriel away at Brentford. A lot of you will be looking at your defenses this week thinking that you have really, really difficult fixtures. You are not alone. We are all in the same boat. If you look at the fixtures this week, if you can predict in the comments 2 clean sheets that will take place in Game Week 13, I will give you all a pat on the back. The clean sheets are almost impossible to predict this week. All of the owner teams that we have play against each other, right? So we've got Aston Villa against Spurs. We've got Manchester City against Liverpool. We've got Chelsea against Newcastle. All the teams we have defenders from go away to each other, and then we have Arsenal away at Brentford as well. So there aren't going to be many clean sheets to go about in Game Week 13, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. In midfield, we have Son, we have Mitoma, we have Salah, we have Jared Bowen, who looks like he's ticking along very nicely. Diaby, Watkins, and then Erling Haaland up front. Erling Haaland looks back to his best. He has the captaincy armband despite being the 12:30 kickoff and playing against Liverpool. He is getting the captaincy armband for me at the moment. Mo Salah with the vice captaincy. I think there'll be goals in that game. On the bench, Archer, Bournemouth at home, first on my bench, is so painful that I have to bench him. But right now, I don't really have someone in my starting 11. I'd rather start him over. So he is just going to be a good first sub for the game week straight after the international break, where there can be a little bit of rotation. Tsimikas, second on my bench, who I did bench in game week 12 very sadly, but he did get some points. It is likely that he keeps his place in the Liverpool side after a very good performance. And then Charlie Taylor last on my bench. So things are okay. Like, I am accepting that it's a bad defense this week. I could make a potential transfer. Matty Cash has been pretty disappointing for me in recent weeks. So Spurs away, Bournemouth away, then difficult fixtures for him in the long term. He could go. I'm also looking at a couple of key midfielders in Cole Palmer, Brian Mbeumo, and Bukayo Saka as well. So, talking back about Bukayo Saka, Saka's numbers are not nearly as good as they have been. Since the last international break where he picked up an injury, he's had 3 assists in 4 games, but his expected data is 1 return in those 4 games, which is basically all assist threat. He had 1.07 expected goal involvement over 4 games combined, not per 90, over those 4 games combined. And he had 0.17 expected goals total over 4 games. Now, they did play Chelsea and they did play Newcastle in that run. However, he also started at home to Sheffield United and at home to Burnley in that run as well. So the data is a little bit concerning. However, it is a small sample size. He does continue to tick along and he is likely to be on penalties. He's handing penalties out when there's a lot of goals flying in when he's on form. When he's lacking goals, I think he'll be the one to take the penalties. So I do still think that I want him in my team, but I am a little bit concerned about the data that we've got for him. There are 2 options. The 2 midfielders that I plan on selling at the moment are Mitoma and Diaby. I have exact money in the bank to do Diaby all the way up to Bukayo Saka, but I actually prefer Diaby this week to Mitoma. Mitoma has Nottingham Forest away, who look pretty good and pretty solid at home this season, whereas Diaby goes away to Spurs, who will be without Romero. They will still be without Van de Ven as well. So with the injuries they've got, it is a little bit of a concern for Spurs fans and the Spurs lineup about what damage that Diaby and Watkins could do on the counter-attack, running in behind with the high line that we know that Spurs can play. Diaby to Saka is an easy transfer I could make with one move, or I could do Mitoma to Saka this week and keep Diaby for one more week before selling him to Brian and Mbeumo in game week 14. However, if I want to do Mitoma up to Saka, this is where the Livramento over Lascelles move just looks more stupid and more stupid every single time I look at it. I'd have enough money if I went Lascelles and I wouldn't have to make a second transfer, but it is what it is. Cash would have to be downgraded. I plan on selling him pretty soon anyway. He goes away to Spurs this week, who he could get something against, but don't think it'll be a clean sheet. He could get some attacking returns with the amount of injuries they've got, but downgrading him to free up money to do that Saka move and then Diaby to Mbeumo next week makes sense. There are just a real lack of defenders in FPL at the moment. I've got Gabriel, I've got Tsimikas, and I need a defender cheaper than Cash, so I can't go to Reece James and I can't go to Saliba. The defender's cheaper. I could go to a Palace defender, but their good fixtures are drying up pretty quick. So there aren't many defenders that I really want to go and buy, which is why I am looking at 4.3 million Harry Maguire. Manchester United have kept back-to-back clean sheets. Yes, they look suspect, but the data's okay for them. And they have an okay fixture this week away at Everton. And the other week I might need him is game week 16, where he's got Bournemouth at home. So he does fill a gap quite well in my team. The other thinking with Maguire is it looks like Varane is very out of favour at Manchester United at the moment. And it looks like Maguire might just be set and forget for a long time. So I could be buying in a Manchester United defender who is only 4.3 million, has an okay bit of clean sheet potential, has an okay bit of goal threat as well, who I might just end up owning for a reasonable amount of time. So I basically have to decide, do I want to do Diaby to Saka for free with one transfer, or Mitoma and Cash out to get Saka in place of Mitoma, still for free, but it uses two transfers. And then this paves the way for my game week 14 transfer to do Brian and Mbeumo in for either Mitoma or Diaby, whichever one I want to keep. So if I do Mitoma to Saka this week with the other transfer, then I'll do Diaby to Mbeumo next week. If I do Diaby to Saka this week, then I will do Mitoma to Mbeumo next week, along with a cash downgrade. So these are pretty much certain to be my next three transfers. There is always a chance that I decide to do them all this week. I prefer Saka to Mitoma this week. Cash has a difficult fixture. I probably prefer Maguire. And then Diaby versus Mbeumo is pretty close. And that would give me another free transfer next week. Whereas if I don't do one this week, I have to use my free transfer next week to do it anyway. So it does unlock a little bit of a free transfer. So there is a little bit of me that thinks I could end up doing all three of these transfers for a -4. Mbeumo was very unlucky not to return last week. And I have a decent amount of money in the bank, but my future transfers are very, very price dependent. So if Mbeumo looks like he's going to go up in price, I might have to do it this week. At home to Arsenal isn't the worst fixture for him, and he's been pretty unlucky not to return over the past couple of games more than he has. So just to review my sort of broader team here. So I do this I hope to do this every international break, and we kind of break down the team into keep, monitor, sell soon, and priority sell transfers. Livramento is a priority sell. I won't do it this week because he should start against Chelsea, but after that I'll be looking to get him out. Then it's the three that we've spoken about. Diaby, Mitoma, Cash are all in the sell soon. Which of them goes this week, I'm not 100% certain on, but they're all pretty much likely to go soon out of my team. Monitor, Gabriel, whether he keeps starting for Arsenal. Son, how Spurs look without Maddison. Turner, he's just in monitor because he's sitting on my bench. He doesn't play anymore. Tsimikas for game time, how much he's likely to play. And Areola is the last one in monitor, just based off West Ham's clean sheets, but it's so difficult to predict clean sheets at the moment, so he's not any higher up. Then the ones I'm pretty happy with, Salah, Watkins, Haaland, Bowen, and then the two cheap Archer and Charlie Taylor. Pretty happy with all of those. Watkins is ticking along nicely, as is Bowen. Haaland and Salah, for me, are almost essential, and then the two cheap options as well. So a little bit of a bigger review of my team. 3-5-2 at the moment. I am considering right now that -4 because it does help me with my future transfer plans. Cash down to Maguire, Diaby to Saka, and Mitoma to Mbeumo. All three transfers for -4 this week is actually currently what I'm planning. I will need to decide pretty soon because Cash will drop in price and I need that little bit of value, but it would give me Maguire away at Everton. It would give me the two midfielders that I know I want going forward, and it would just be get me out of the hole that Livramento has caused a little bit sooner than hopefully it would have done if I decide to roll one of my transfers. So it might be my minus for first one of the season, but I do think the players I'm bringing in are good long-term holds for me. So yeah, we probably won't have a video for next weekend. Will probably be the first one that we have back. It is the international break. So let's see how international football goes. Hopefully no injuries to some of the key players in here. But yeah, let's see how the next week goes before we come back with our usual transfer plans, updated, our transfer targets, who to buy, and my final team selection going into Game Week 13 as well. Thank you all so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe before you go. Have a lovely international break, and I'll be back again very soon.